Good evening. Welcome to the Mac Commentary. I am really glad and happy that you could be with me this evening. And I want to share with you some things mainly where I see a relationship between the Minister Louis Farrakhan and his Justice or Else march, and also with the movie Straight Outta Compton, which came out this past weekend. And I'll tell you, I'm going to try to just make this as succinct as possible, but give me a few minutes to try to get to the main point, okay, as to what is really happening here. Now, there is a lot of pain and devastation on a daily basis in many of our communities all over this great nation. And I ask myself frequently, why is our people so uncaring, selfish, and unconcerned about each other and the deterioration of our communities, culture, and morals? And this is why I decided to put a voice over the internet to address these and many other problems affecting our people. It appears to me that every so-called leader wants to blame our predicament on the mainstream society or the white man, so to speak. Now, I concur that the largest society, or the whites, had a lot to do with our people being in this cesspool of drugs, violence, crime, broken homes, and joblessness. Our leaders are still waiting for the government to give us the 40 acres and the mule. And I just don't think this is the right course of action, or going out there begging. And what I see is going to happen if this course of action that's being taken by these so-called leaders, it will simply give us fratricide and maybe even genocide. Now you ask, Mac, why do you say that? Because we are in the process of repeating history and not moving ahead by dumping the excess baggage, such as the begging mentality. Now, we can make our communities economically strong, viable, functional, and self-empowered. We can do that. And once we have done that, then we can take what we need. Now, last week I had Bob on my show, and he pointed out that Nat Turner formed an army, and he took this army from plantation to plantation, and it grew up to about 50 or 60 men, killing whites, men, women, and children. But when they got ready to take on the city of Jerusalem in Virginia, the governor of that state called up 3,000 militiamen. And they met them before they got to that town, and all of the men scattered into the woods, and they caught them except for Nat Turner. He was caught 2 months later, skinned and hanged. Now, they also took 15 heads and placed them on stakes of some of the men they caught. Placed them on stakes to deter or to terrorize other blacks. And then white mobs went out and killed maybe 200 to 300 African Americans who had nothing whatsoever to do with that Nat Turner uprising. It's amazing. But at the same time, last week, I kind of pointed out what one of former President Reagan's FEMA director, his name was Jeffreda, he wrote a thesis in 1970 at the War College. He was a colonel in the Army, and he proposed or predicted very similar results should an insurrection by blacks start during this time period. Now, as you will begin to see, I believe at this present time, an insurrection is planned with maybe even with the blessing of the government. Now, this is my hypothesis based on circumstances, my observations. First of all, First Amendment or not, it is hard for me to believe that the government will let a black man make the statement that he is requesting 10,000 men who are willing to kill those who kill ours, unless the government is complicit with the planners and it is something they want so they can kill off millions of blacks in this country. Because that's what would happen if something like that happens. It's very similar to what I just relayed to you about the Nat Turner's uprising and how they killed off those people. As it appears, Minister Farrakhan is also under some type of false illusion that the white citizen militia will be fighting with his 10,000 martyrs. But the white citizen militia will be the ones who will counteract his force. Just as I pointed out, that happened 160-some years ago, or in 1831, the Nat Turner uprising. Now today, if you didn't know it, I'll let you know this, that almost every state has a militia that consists of white men. And they train periodically in the middle of state and national forests. And I base that on the fact that I do know for a fact that units of the Michigan militia trains at Hiawatha National Forest, which is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Now, I do see some signs of a violent insurrection that's in the air. And the first sign is in the Justice or Else march that's being called by the Minister Farrakhan. Now, I want to just point out one thing here. I have followed for years and respected Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I respect his words of wisdom, and I cling to his words of wisdom. And I concur with most of his teachings. But today I hear rhetoric or warmongering in his latest speeches. In the 1960s, I heard the words expressed by him and others today, I would have been fired up and ready to go. But today, we are far from the days of Jim Crow, or maybe we're not that far. But I feel that we do have opportunities. What we do have, we can build on that as a race of people, as a community. And I believe that the onus is on us to make our lives better as a race of people in these United States. The minister and others have said we have more than $1 trillion flowing through our hands each year, which would place us right up behind the 9 largest economies. Now that is awesome. So we need to organize and make what we have today, make it work to build our communities. In the 60s, we asked for opportunities. Things began to open up for us. And many of us took advantage of this. We went on and got education, got better jobs than our parents had ever had or had the opportunity to get. But we must remember, as F. Scott Fitzgerald stated in his book, The Great Gatsby, whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in the world haven't had the advantages that you have had, unquote. I say that to say many of our people did not have the support system, breaks, or talents that other blacks had to take advantage of the opportunities. So many are left behind unless we work as a people with a goal and a focus to help all, because none of us are anything unless we all respect it. Now, what I meant by warmongering is the preparation that's being made for the Justice or Else March on October the 10th, 2015. Now, I've heard statements, like I mentioned, calling for 10,000 men who are ready to kill those who kill us and who are ready for a sweet death. And I recently heard a statement where the minister stated that many had to be ready to die in order for the rest to be free. Now, I heard this statement, at least I saw the video of it on YouTube, where the minister was with Jamal Brady, I believe that's his name, of the Word. And that's where he made many of these incinerating remarks. Now, finally, it's the timing of the release of the movie, Straight Outta Compton. Why? This movie was released here 2 months before this Justice or Else March. And I tell you, that was a very good movie. I liked that movie. You saw in there some kids in there, young people that was pulled themselves up by the bootstrap and made something of their lives. And I admire that. But I don't admire the message in their music, in their lyrics of their songs, if you want to call that music. I don't admire that because it's denigrating. It's exciting kids to become something that the killing each other, the shooting, the drugs, and all this other stuff. But this is something I just want to say is that movie has subliminal and conscious messages. And they will excite the uninitiated, like young people. Those who have gathered over the years from these different types of lyrics that they won't see the age of 21. There's many that feel that way. This is just a few of the messages related to the Justice or Else March. Number one, the police harassment of the NWA group in front of the recording studio. They were humiliated and degraded for all to see by them placing them in a prone position on the ground. And I even got angry at that because they hadn't done anything to deserve that. So what do you think it's going to do to many other young people if I got angry? And I know it's just a movie, but it happened, and things like that can happen. They do happen. I know they happen. Then there's a video of the Minister Farrakhan giving a speech, which is played on a monitor in the recording studio. That came on a couple times in the movie. The Rodney King beating by the LA police was shown 2 times in the movie. And the riot was shown, which that occurred after the exoneration of the 4 officers who brutalized Mr. King. The riot that came as a result of that exoneration, there on a building, I saw in big letters the word justice sprawled on the side of a building. So I immediately went through my mind, justice or else. And then the fruit of the Islam, they call them the FOI, they were standing guard after the riot while Ice Cube was giving an interview to a journalist. The journalist said, "Why are the FOI here?" or something. He said, "They are my friends." Now this message here is telling all the people that, hey, Ice Cube, here's all his fans, he's telling them as well that he is friends. He is a friend of Minister Louis Farrakhan, which is not a bad thing. And finally, the lyrics saying F the police was conveyed to the crowd during a concert in Detroit, and it got the crowd all excited and chanting F the police, after the police had told them not to do that. Which, I mean, I don't think the police had the right to tell them that, but what happened there was it got everybody riled up, and I'm sure that people see that, young people that see this particular movie are going to feel the same way. And it ended with a riot and the NWA group getting arrested in Detroit. Now, the entertainment moguls at Universal Studios, they have put together, I think, a fantastic movie. And one of the other things is that in that particular movie, Ice Cube had made some anti-Semitic remarks in the lyrics of one of his songs after he went solo, that he left the group. And when the Jewish manager of the NWA heard this, boy, he became irate in front of all of the other group members. But he was so irate at the anti-Semitic remarks, but he had never said anything while the MWA lyrics of songs that denigrated and the blacks and called the women of the black race the B word and the W or the H word. I mean, he wasn't at all ticked off about that, but something that was said about the Jews, that was no different than when Michael Jackson went through that same situation. If you look at a video on the YouTube where he had this same type of a problem with Sony, the Jewish people who controlled that particular media. But somehow or another, Ice Cube made up with all of the Jewish people. He's back. He did that real soon in the 90s. Because that's when he started coming out with his various movies. And he got great distribution. And and many people who know anything about the movies know that if you're not in the on the good side with the Jewish moguls there, your movie's not going anywhere. So apparently they kissed and made up. They did something with Ice Cube to get him on the team. Because all of his subsequent movies have had great distribution, and he's got many others in the works based on what I heard him say in an interview. Now, this march is beginning to take shape with all of the rappers being called to tweet and Facebook their followers to attend the march and tell them that they will be there, tell their followers they will be there with Minister Farrakhan. Now, the minister made the statement that many young blacks are angry And I know they are angry too, because that rap music also makes them angry. And it also brainwashed them into accepting a short lifespan, I believe, because many of them say, "Hey, oh, I don't think I'll live to be 21." Now this plays right into the hands of the massa, who wants to rid this nation of as many of us as possible. I theorize this in part that because this might be part of the master plan engineered by the powers to be. And I believe that the powers to be have the complicity and duplicity of some of our so-called leaders and iconic figures. Just check it out. How many marches do you see out there going on for the killing of each other and all these little kids being killed in the hoods of cities all across America? How many marches have you seen there rallying? No, they're all out there rallying for the police and get everybody all upset over the police and want to go out there and start a riot or start a war against the white man. When it's all, even though I say the whites have a lot to do with the way we are, but we can think for ourselves. We can build our own communities. Look at all the money out there, all these blacks we're making. I can recall once in 1991, right after the Rodney King situation, where I sat with a group of people I was in Detroit at that time. And I sat in there and I said, look, why can't we get 30,000 people in Detroit to invest $1,000 each, raise $30 million, and build a mall downtown? That's when Detroit was at its lowest point. And this director of the New Detroit at that time said to me, well, that's something that you private people will have to do. Well, New Detroit was supposed to be making things happen. And I put it out there. But he did absolutely nothing. Now, I believe that instead of raising Cain about being ready to die, the leaders of this march should be getting 5 or 6 of these rappers together to discuss putting some of the millions of dollars they have earned, denigrating blacks, brainwashing the black kids with a negative lifestyle of violence and killing, which have carried over into the black community, where we see it every day with the drive-by killing of young kids as well as others in the community. Where was Black Lives Matter when 9-year-old Jamila Bolden was killed while in her home doing her homework last Tuesday night a week ago in Ferguson? Where were they? Right after her killing, where was Sharpton? Where was Jesse? Where was Minister Farrakhan? Planning a march, justice or else, right? Now, right after her killing, a thug wanted on a felony warrant tried to shoot his way out of wherever he was, and he was killed by the police. Now, Black Lives Matter was there the next day to protest his death, even though he made the choice, as the Bible said, thou mayest sin. And he made the choice of putting himself in a detrimental situation, in a deadly situation. And this probably came from all of the gangster rap stuff that he had grown up with. So he's another victim too. Now, instead of calling for 10,000 martyrs, it will be far more beneficial for black people if the minister will convince the rappers and others to invest $100 million or more to start a national bank to empower black America. I don't say give, I said invest. That's the difference in giving and begging for somebody to give you something, but asking somebody to invest in human life, in a race of people. And this national bank will be used to empower black people. Now, consultation should be made with Dr. Claude Anderson and other financial experts in the community, and we have many experts who are working for other corporations as chief financial officers, big corporations, CEOs. If these people can't come back, then there's no hope for this, for our people, as a race of people. But let's get these people into the community and get this off the ground and start building businesses with black labor and have black employees. Give people jobs. Simultaneously, other leaders under the direction of Minister Louis Farrakhan would organize the ministers and clergy throughout the black communities to teach blacks appropriate behavior, because, as the minister stated, many of us have been socially engineered almost, and I state, almost to the point of no return. The churches should set up outreach ministries where the parishioners go out into the community to invite the people in their neighborhood to attend classes with incentives for their attendance. Mentors would be assigned to the families to help them get their morals and self-respect back. We must attempt to change this destructive behavior of our people by nipping it in the bud before we all perish. I want to thank you for tuning in this evening. And if you want to send me a note, you may do so to the Mac Commentary at gmail.com. And I hope that you will be with me again on my next show. Thank you and have a good evening.
It's not ours. The battle is the Lord's. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So you can look for, if you come with your tanks and you're ready to do it. But when you come with your tanks, know that we're ready to die. But we're not going to die without putting up a fight.
It's, wow.
Now wait just a minute. See, now you got real quiet when I said that. What's wrong with you? When I said that, you should have been on your feet. See, Pastor Haynes said, but you haven't got there yet. You know, you're not shouting yet. You're not ready yet to defend the gift that only God can give. And if you can't and will not fight to protect this gift, and like a sheep led to the slaughter, you offer your lives up on the altar of cowardice. If this is you, then you deserve to die. But if you stand and fight for the life that God gave you, then victory is assured. Some of us will die, but the rest will be free to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.